A Texas man is accused of killing his pregnant sister, and police say a doorbell camera captured his confession to the crime. The Travis County Sheriff's Office arrested Michael Egwuagu, a 25-year-old former football player for the University of Texas at San Antonio, on Friday on suspicion of stabbing his sister, 32-year-old Jennifer Chioma Ebichi, to death, according to an arrest warrant. Detectives spoke with a witness, Linda Mura, who said Ebichi asked her to come to the home and she arrived to see Egwuagu exit the home, smiling, the warrant says. He was holding a bloody kitchen knife in his hand and said, "I killed Jennifer," Mura told detectives, according to the warrant. Police said that doorbell camera footage confirmed Mura's account. The incident occurred in Pflugerville, a suburb of Austin. Egwuagu was charged with murder and is being held at the Travis County Jail with bond set at $500,000, according to CNN affiliate Kai. Krista Chacona, an attorney for Egwuagu, said it is a very painful and difficult time for the family. We would ask that people please respect their privacy and allow them time to grieve, Chacona said. Ebichi's twin brother, Martin Chinadu Egwuagu, told police that Michael Egwuagu had been making strange statements early the day of his sister's death. Ebichi had texted her twin to tell him that Michael Egwuagu was having a crisis, according to the arrest warrant. Hours later, Ebichi texted Martin Egwuagu, asking him to come to her. When he arrived, he found Ebichi's older child, covered in blood, standing outside with Mura. He went inside the home and found his sister on the kitchen floor in a pool of blood and her younger child in the home crying, according to the warrant. Martin Egwuagu put the children under the care of his wife and then found Michael Egwuagu in the street kneeling, as though he was praying, in clothes covered in blood, the warrant said. The suspect then removed his clothes and threw them in a curbside trash can, it said. An autopsy performed Saturday showed that Ebichi, who was in her first trimester of pregnancy, died as a result of multiple stab wounds and that her manner of death was homicide. The fetus died with her. While a complete count of the wounds was unavailable, the medical examiner estimated that she had 1 to 2 dozen stab wounds. Iran-backed militiamen withdrew from the U.S. Embassy compound in Baghdad on Wednesday after 2 days of clashes with American security forces, but U.S.-Iran tensions remain high and could spill over into further violence. The withdrawal followed calls from the government and senior militia leaders. It ended a high-stakes 2-day crisis and practical siege of the largest and one of the most heavily fortified U.S. diplomatic missions in the world. The attack prompted the Pentagon to send hundreds of additional troops to the Middle East. In an orchestrated assault, hundreds of militiamen and their supporters broke into the embassy compound, destroying a reception area, smashing windows and spraying graffiti on walls to protest U.S. airstrikes against an Iran-backed militia over the weekend that killed 25 fighters. The U.S. blamed the militia for a rocket attack on an Iraqi military base in the northern city of Kirkuk last week that killed a U.S. contractor. The protesters set up a tent camp overnight and on Wednesday set fire to the reception area and hurled stones at U.S. Marines guarding the compound, who responded with tear gas. There were no injuries on either side and no American staff were evacuated from the compound. The Popular Mobilization Forces, an umbrella group of state-allied militias, many backed by Iran, called on its supporters to withdraw in response to an appeal by the Iraqi government, saying, "Your message has been received." By late afternoon the tents had been taken down and the protesters relocated to the opposite side of the Tigris River, outside the so-called Green Zone housing government offices and foreign embassies. U.S. Apache helicopters circled overhead. After achieving the intended aim, "We pulled out from this place triumphantly," said Fadel Al-Ghazi, a militia supporter. "We rubbed America's nose in the dirt." Kataib Hezbollah, the Iran-backed militia targeted by the U.S. airstrikes, initially refused to leave but later bowed to demands to disperse. The militia is separate from the Hezbollah militant group in Lebanon, though both are backed by Iran. "We don't care about these planes that are flying over the heads of the picketers. Neither do we care about the news that America will bring Marines," said Mohammad Mohi, a spokesman for Kataib Hezbollah. On the contrary, this shows a psychological defeat and a big mental breakdown that the American administration is suffering from, he said, before withdrawing from the area. The violence came as Iran and its allies across the region have faced unprecedented mass protests in recent months and heavy U.S. sanctions have cratered Iran's economy. Iraq has been gripped by anti-government protests since October, fueled by anger at widespread corruption and economic mismanagement, as well as Iran's heavy influence over the country's affairs. Those protesters were not involved in the embassy attack. President Donald Trump blamed Iran for the attack on the embassy, and the Pentagon dispatched an infantry battalion of about 750 soldiers to the Middle East. A U.S. official familiar with the decision said they would go to Kuwait. Don Larson, the journeyman pitcher who reached the heights of baseball glory in 1956 for the New York Yankees when he threw a perfect game and the only no-hitter in World Series history, died Wednesday night. He was 90. Larson's agent, Andrew Levy, said the former pitcher died of esophageal cancer in Hayden, Idaho. Levy said Larson's son, Scott, confirmed the death. Larson was the unlikeliest of characters to attain what so many Hall of Famers couldn't pull off in the Fall Classic. He was 81 to 91 lifetime, never won more than 11 games in a season, and finished an unsightly 3-21 with Baltimore in 1954, the year before he was dealt to the Yankees as part of an 18-player trade. In the 1956 World Series, won in 7 games by the Yankees, he was knocked out in the second inning of Game 2 by the Brooklyn Dodgers and didn't think he would have another opportunity to pitch. But when he reached Yankee Stadium on the morning of October 8, he found a baseball in his shoe, the signal from manager Casey Stengel that he would start Game 5. "I must admit I was shocked," Larson wrote in his autobiography. "I knew I had to do better than the last time, keep the game close and somehow give our team a chance to win. Casey was betting on me, and I was determined not to let him down this time." The Dodgers and Yankees split the first 4 games, and Stengel liked the deception of Larson's no wind-up delivery. The manager's instincts proved historically correct. The lanky right-hander struck out 7, needed just 97 pitches to tame the Dodgers, and only once went to 3 balls on a batter. In winning 2-0, the Yankees themselves only managed 5 hits against the Dodgers' Sal Maglie, but scored on a Mickey Mantle home run and an RBI single by Hank Bauer. Larson, named MVP of the 1956 series, survived 2 close calls. In the second inning, Jackie Robinson hit a hard grounder that was deflected by third baseman Andy Carey to shortstop Gil McDougald, who threw out Robinson out. In the fifth, Mantle ran down a long drive to left center field by Gil Hodges. With 2 out in the ninth, pinch hitter Dale Mitchell took a third strike, completing the perfect game and sending catcher Yogi Berra dashing out from behind the plate to leap into Larson's arms. "It remains one of baseball's most joyous images. When Yogi Berra jumped on me and grabbed with the bear hug, my mind went completely blank," Larson wrote in his autobiography. "I was under friendly attack. I was swept into the dugout." Born August 7, 1929 in Michigan City, Indiana, Larson moved with his family to San Diego, where he went to Point Loma High School, the alma mater of another perfect game pitcher, David Wells. Larson played basketball and baseball and was signed by the St. Louis Browns for a $500 bonus and $150 a month. After 2 minor league seasons, Larson hurt his arm and then spent 2 years in the Army. He was promoted to the Browns in 1953 and moved with the team to Baltimore the following year. He struggled through his 3-21 season, but 2 of the wins were against the Yankees, who insisted he be included in the trade that also brought pitching star Bob Turley to New York. Larson started 1955 with the Yankees farm team in Denver, where he went 9-1 and developed the no wind-up delivery. Promoted to the Yankees midway through the season, he finished 9-2 for New York. Larson went 11-5 the next season and enjoyed the party atmosphere of the Yankees, often running with Mantle, Billy Martin and Whitey Ford in their late-night rounds of the city. On the night before his perfect game, he had been out on the town, believing he was not in Stengel's plans for the next day. Larson pitched in 3 other World Series. He won Game 2 of the 1957 series against Hank Aaron and the Milwaukee Braves, but lost the decisive Game 7. He shut out the Braves 4-0 on 6 hits in Game 3 of the 1958 series, when New York beat Milwaukee 4-3, and was back in the 1962 matchup with the San Francisco Giants. Pitching against the Yankees on October 8, the 6th anniversary of his perfect game, he won in relief at Yankee Stadium. After the 1959 season, he was traded to Kansas City in a deal that brought Roger Maris to New York. With the A's, he went 1-10 in 1960, a reminder of his dreadful season with the Orioles. He was sent back to the minors, where he became a relief pitcher and then moved on to the Giants, Chicago White Sox, Houston, Baltimore and the Chicago Cubs. Larson retired in 1967 with an 81-91 record for 14 major league seasons. He later worked as a liquor salesman and paper company executive. When the Yankees' David Cone pitched a perfect game during the 1999 season, Larson was in attendance, having thrown out the first ball. No other pitcher has thrown a perfect game in the postseason, but in 2010 the Phillies' Roy Halladay pitched a no-hitter against the Cincinnati Reds during the National League Division Series. "They can never break my record," Larson would say of his game. "The best they can do is tie it." October 8, 1956, was a mystical trip through Fantasyland. Sometimes I still wonder whether it really all happened. Molly Fitzgerald, an actress who had a small role in Captain America: The First Avenger, is being accused of stabbing her mother to death in Olathe, Kansas. Fitzgerald, 38, was arrested on Tuesday on charges of second-degree murder and was jailed on $500,000 bond. It is unknown if she had retained an attorney yet. The actress is being accused of slaying her mother, 68-year-old Patricia T. Fitzgerald, who authorities say was found dead inside her Olathe home on Deck 20. According to the website IMDb, Molly Fitzgerald is a movie director and producer as well as an actress. She worked on mostly low-budget films, including The Lawful Truth in 2014 and The Creeps in 2017. In Captain America, she played Stark Girl and worked as an assistant to the director, Joe Johnston. The film grossed $176.6 million in the U.S. "Being a part of this production has been one of the best experiences of my life," Fitzgerald told a comic book publication in 2011. Patricia Fitzgerald was in the process of moving back to Kansas City after living several decades in the Houston area, her brother, Gary Hunziker, told the Kansas City Star. Hunziker, 72, said he knew few details about the circumstances surrounding his sister's death. Former NBA Commissioner David Stern died Wednesday following a brain hemorrhage he suffered last month, the NBA said. He was 77. Stern's wife and family were by his side when he died, the NBA statement said. Stern, who headed the league for 30 years, making him the NBA's longest-serving commissioner, is widely credited with having made the NBA the organization it is today, said Adam Silver, who succeeded him as commissioner in 2014. Because of David, the NBA is truly a global brand, making him not only one of the greatest sports commissioners of all time but also one of the most influential business leaders of his generation, Silver said. Every member of the NBA family is the beneficiary of David's vision, generosity and inspiration. For 22 years, I had a courtside seat to watch David in action. He was a mentor and one of my dearest friends, Silver said. Like every NBA legend, David had extraordinary talents, but with him it was always about the fundamentals, preparation, attention to detail and hard work. Stern oversaw the NBA's growth into a league whose games were televised in more than 40 languages in more than 200 countries and territories. The league added 7 franchises and launched the WNBA and the NBA Development League, now called the G League. He was also involved in numerous initiatives that changed the league, including drug tests, a salary cap and a dress code. And after he left his post, he wouldn't let staffers use the word retire, because he never intended to stop working. Stern remained affiliated with the league with the title of Commissioner Emeritus, and took overseas trips on the league's behalf. He always kept an office in New York. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, on behalf of his league, said in a statement professional football was deeply saddened by the death of Stern. David was a driving force in sports for decades and helped the NBA soar to new heights around the world, Goodell said. I called him the Dean of Commissioners, not only for his longevity and his vision for the NBA, but for his willingness to offer advice when I first started as NFL Commissioner.